Hey there, my name is Manuel Yeboabil, a registered nurse here in the UK. Today we'll be talking about filling your DS-160 form. And you know, this form is needed when you are doing a US visa application for a school, whether you are going for a medical care, whether you are going as a tourist, or when you have gotten an invitation to attend a conference in the United States. You need to fill this form. There is no way you can get to the US or you can get a US visa without filling this form. Today's video is diving deep into filling the DS-160 form, and we will focus mainly on the B1B2 visa, which is mostly needed when you are attending a conference or going as a tourist. We will cover everything you need to know and highlight on the common mistakes you must avoid to ensure a smooth application process. So grab your pen, take some notes, and let's get you a step closer to your American adventure. Don't forget to like this video. So the first thing is to go on to Google and type in filling DS-160 form. So you click on the first link that comes, and I'll leave the links in the description, so don't worry about that one. And you have to make sure that you are indeed filling the DS-160 form. Now let's start the application process. You have to select the country you are applying for, and I am in Ghana, so I'll use Ghana as the place of application. And you'll be asked to enter this code that is shown in there. So if the code is not clear, you can just reload the code and it will come again. But this one looks a bit clearer. Let me see. It's MXK9SB. Now let's see if it will work out. So we are starting a new application, so I'll click on start an application. Alright, so this is a computer fraud and abuse notice that we have to agree to, so just click on agree and move on. And this number is very important. You have to take note of this number. You can write it somewhere if you want, or you can copy it onto the clipboard. The next thing is some security questions, and they have already asked you your mother's name. So if you want to choose that security question, that's fine, but if you don't want to choose it, you can just ignore. I prefer to choose my mother's name, so I'll just put the answer there as Elizabeth. Okay, now let's move on. You have to make sure that you memorize this answer because you're going to need it in future when you have to retrieve your application. Now let's click on next, and the next step is about ourselves. They are going to ask us some personal information, and this is where you'll be providing your names. Make sure you do not make any mistakes, please. Try and write the correct name. So let me put my surname in there. My surname is Yebo, and my given name is Manuel. Let me just put Manuel there. Alright. Have you ever used other names? Let me just say no, and let's continue. Do you have a telecode that represents your name? No. And the next question is about my gender. So I'm obviously a male. I would just say I'm married. Place of birth, I would just say 4 February 2000. Let me put 2000 there. And the city where I was born is Brecon, so I'll put Brecon in there. And the state is Bron Ahafo. So this is just the same if you are applying from a different country, whether you are in Nigeria or any other country. You just follow the same format. So I am in Ghana. I was born in Ghana, so I will just go to the next page, which is the personal information. Oh, I think I made an error. So they've asked me to correct everything that I did. Oh yes, so full name in your native alphabet. So this does not apply because I didn't tick this box. They didn't allow me to go forward. Now let's go to the next stage. So the personal information too is where you'll be asked of your nationality. So I am a Ghanaian. Let me choose Ghana. Do you hold or held any nationality other than the one indicated above? No. Are you a permanent resident of a country other than your country of origin? No, not yet. All right, so national identification number, this does not apply. Social security number, this does not apply to me. And taxpayer number, this does not apply. As you fill this form, you have to make sure that you save along the line. So let me just click on save here and see how. Oh, so because I click on save, they've timed me up. So these people are very strict with these forms. The least thing you do, you'll be timed out. So I'll use this session to explain why it is important for you to keep your unique number. We will use this unique number to retrieve our application. So they are asking me where I am applying from. I'm applying from Ghana, and I have to type the code again, DSKNAY. And we have to make sure that all the security information we give is written somewhere, because we are going to use it to retrieve our application. Now they are asking for my surname, so I'll just put it in there, and they need only the 5 letters of your surname, and they will ask me about the security question, and that is Elizabeth, my mother's name. And let's see if I can retrieve my application. Oh, good. So I have been able to retrieve my application. Let's continue. Now here you have to be very careful. Purpose of trip to the US, and you have to go through and choose the one that is applicable to you. Because I stated earlier that we'll be going for a conference or going as a tourist, we will just take class B, which is temporary business pleasure visitor. So I will choose that one, and I have to select whether I'm going for a conference, I'm going for medical treatment, or I'm going for business and tourism. So I'll just choose the one that I want. I remember during my days I choose B1B2, and I was still able to use it for traveling to the US for conferencing and as a tourist. So you can either choose strictly for conferencing, or you can choose B1 and B2. All right, now have you made any specific plans? It's up to you, but I prefer to say no. And they will ask you of your intended date of travel, so you just have to be strategic. If you are going for a conference, you just have to look at the duration of the conference and arrive 3 days, 2 days, or you have to make sure that you make some planning to arrive some days before the conference, so that you don't arrive a date later than the conference or exactly on the day of the conference. So for example, if the conference is happening on the 12th, I will just arrive on 10th, and let me just say October arrival 2024. And intended length of stay in the US, let me just say 2 weeks. So they will ask you of your address. So if you are visiting a relative, if you've gotten an invitation from your dad or any relative to stay with, then you have to fill their address in there. But if you are going for a conference and you know the hotels that you'll be staying, you just put in the hotel address in there. So let me just put, so 334 Baby Street is where I'll be living, and it will be in New York, and the state will be New York, definitely. So if you know your zip code, just put it in there. If you don't know, just continue. Obviously you have to know your zip code, and they will ask you of the person who is paying for the trip. I'm doing it on my own. Then you have to click on continue. Now here you'll be asked to include people if you are going with other persons, but if you are traveling alone, just say you are going alone and continue. So these are travel information about the US. Now they will ask you, have you been to the US before? No. Have you ever been issued a US visa? If you haven't been issued a US visa before, just say no. So I'll choose no for the purpose of this video. Have you ever been refused a US visa or been refused admission into the US, or withdrawn your application for admission at the port of entry? This is no. Alright, so you keep on filling as it counts. Most of the questions here are mostly no for first time applicants. Has anyone ever filed an immigrant petition on your behalf with the United States Citizenship or Immigration Services? You click on no, then you move forward. So the next thing is they are going to ask you of your home address, so you have to put your address in there. So I'll put in my home address in Ghana, Supreme Savior School Road, Kumasi, and you put Ashanti. So you put your province in there and the zip code, just say it does not apply, and the country, you choose your country, and I'll choose Ghana. Is your mailing address same as your home address? I'll just say yes, and they will ask of my phone number, so I'll just put 02444. So I'll just put my address there, and they are asking of my work and secondary phone, and I'll just say it doesn't apply. Have you ever used any other phone numbers in the last 5 years? No. So they are asking of my email address. I will just put klbmets in there. klbmets@gmail.com. Have you ever used any other email addresses in the last 5 years? I will just say no. And here they will ask you about your social media platform. So if you have any LinkedIn accounts, you can use a LinkedIn account. I prefer to use a LinkedIn account for this exercise, so I'll just put Manuel Yeboah there. Well, if you have a YouTube account, just put it in there and make sure that none of your videos is tarnishing the image of US. Alright, now let's go on. Do you wish to provide information about your presence on other websites or applications you have used in the last 5 years to create or share content? I will just say no. I don't want to share anything with the United States. The next information you have to enter is your passport information. Now you just have to say your passport is a regular one, and they will ask of the document number. You just put it in there. Passport book number, you can say it does not apply, and you already inserted the country that issued the passport in there. So the next question is, where was your passport or travel document issued? Let me just say Accra. State or province, I will say Greater Accra. So you put your issuance date in there, the date that your passport was issued, you put it in there, and you put your expiration date in there as well. So let me say 2020. Have you ever lost a passport or had one stolen before? No, I haven't. Let's go on. So on here they are going to ask you about your point of contact when you get to the United States. So you just have to make sure that you put it in there. If you are visiting a relative, put it in there. If you are going for a conference, make sure that you have the president of the organization you are going for the conference, or any contact person, or the one who issued your invitation letter. Put their names in there. So I'll just put the president of ANAC in there, which is Michelle Watkins. I'll just put this there, and the organization name I'll put Association Nurses in Aged Care. Well, you can't just say you don't know, or you don't know the organization that you will be visiting, so you have to make sure that you get these things right. And when it comes to their relationship with you, as I said earlier, if you are visiting a relative, you can put it in there. For this case, I will just say other. Now let's go on to the next information. Now I have been timed out, so I have to retrieve my application again, and they will ask me where I am applying from, and I'll be asked to type the code before I will be logged back in. And this is where you have to make sure you have your code written somewhere to retrieve your application, else you are going to start again. Alright, so let me just see if I'll remember everything that I inserted as my security question. Now let's see if I can retrieve. Alright, so because I didn't save my information earlier on, I said that as you go on with the application, make sure you click on save to save some of the information you provided. Let me just continue with my application and let's go to the next. Now the point of contact in the US, I have to write it in there, Michelle Watkins. Organization name, Association of Nurses in Aged Care. Okay, let me just leave this one like that. And their relationship to me, I will just say other. Oops. So you have to put in Association of Nurses in Aged Care address. If you are going to a different organization, just put in the address in there. So I'll just say 12 Cleveland Road and the city will be, let me just say Cleveland. You have to make sure that you look on your invitation letter and you find all this information in there. You don't have to contradict information you give on your invitation letter with the one that you will input in your DS-160 form. They have to relate, they have to be the same. Now with a zip code, if you know, you have to put it in there. Obviously you have to know your zip code because it will be on your invitation letter. And if you know the phone number, you just have to put it in there and you have to go your way. Email address, let me put anak@anaknet.org. Alright, so just move on to the next session. And the next question is about your family or relatives information. Alright, so they will ask you to provide information of your dad and mom. So if you know your dad's name, just put it in the Yeboah Anthony. So you just make sure you put your dad's and your mom's name in there. If you don't know, you can just say you don't know, but that will raise eyebrows. So you just have to make sure you put your mom's and dad's name in there. And is your father in the US? No. Your mom's name, Elizabeth. Sorry, let me just put your boy in here, Elizabeth. So you don't have to make all these petty mistakes that I'm making. You have to make sure you put the names at the right places. Is your mother in the US? No. Do you have any immediate relatives, not including parents, in the US? No. Do you have any relatives in the US? No. Alright. Now let me just go on to spouse. So they will ask of your spouse name. So you just put your spouse name in there. So you put your spouse date of birth in there if you are married. But if you are not married, this will not even pop up at all because I chose that I was married. That is why I'm failing this side. And if your spouse is in Ghana, you just click on Ghana and the city that your spouse was born and the country. Alright, so you select your spouse address and it should be same as your home address. That's fine. So they'll be getting all this information from you and you have to make sure that you give the correct information. Now the next one is your present education, work or training. So I'll just choose something related to health. Let me see if there is anything related to health in it. So medical and health, yes. And they'll ask me of my employer's name. I'll just put St. Edward's Hospital. And they'll take the address as well, 21 Hospital Road. So you just try and fill every space that is provided unless it doesn't apply. So with the state, I can just say Ashanti and I can ignore the zip code. If you know the phone number, just put it in there. Try to make sure you put your work phone number in there. And they'll ask you of the start date, the date you started work. You put everything in there. And they'll ask you of your monthly income. What are they doing with this? So we just have to put it in there, 1,500 cedis. So briefly describe your duties. So you just type in anything there. As a nurse, I do injection, medication, So just type all those things in there, and let's continue our form. Now the next one is previous work, education or training information. Were you previously employed? I'll just say no. And have you attended any educational institutions at the secondary level or above? I'll just say yes. So they will ask me of my school name. I'll just say SZ Nurses Training College. So you just put your school address in the DC-96, and that should be all right. You have to make sure you fill all of these answers truthfully. So they are asking me of the course of study. I did nursing, so I will just put nursing in there, and you have to call your colleagues and get the day you gain admission into nursing training in there if you are a nurse. So you just have to make sure you get it right. I'm not sure they will contact them anyway, but to have a free mind or to save yourself from thinking a lot, you just have to make sure you put the correct details in there. Now the next thing is additional work, education, training, and information. All right, so they will ask you, do you belong to a clan or tribe? I will just say no. And they are asking of the languages that I speak. I'll put English. And if you want to add more languages, you can just click on add, and you can write, have you ever traveled to any countries within the last 5 years? Well, for the purpose of this video, I will just say no. Have you belonged to, contributed to, or worked for any professional, social, or charitable organization? If you have, you can put yes. If you haven't, just say no. And the next one is, do you have any specialized skills or training such as firearms? Oh no, this is definitely no. And have you served in the military? No. So most of the answers in this category are mostly no. And even though I'm saying it's mostly no, you just have to look at it well. Probably you've been a soldier before and you have to choose yes. Now they are asking more security background questions from me, and they are asking me of my health status. Do you have any communicable disease or public health significance? No. Do you have any mental or physical disorder that poses or is likely to pose a threat to the safety or welfare of yourself and others? Definitely no. Are you a drug addict? Never used a drug before. All right, so you'll be filling all these forms. Even though it sounds quite boring, you have no choice. You have to fill them diligently, making sure that you avoid mistakes as much as possible. Yeah, now it's taking some time for the site to load, so I just have to be patient in here. Have you ever been arrested or convicted for any offense or crime, even though subject of a pardon, amnesty, and others? No. So most of the answers on this side is definitely no, and you have to move forward after choosing no. Now this is the security background 3. Do you seek to engage in espionage, sabotage? Oh, definitely no. Right, so most of the answers here are also no. Now let's look at the fourth one. Are you a member or representative of a terrorist organization? No. Are you the spouse, son, or daughter of an individual who has engaged in a terror? Oh no. So all the answers here are definitely no. So let me just click on no. Well, if you are a terrorist, just declare to them that you are a terrorist and see if you get your visa. If you get it, let me know and I'll make a video on it. Now let's go on to the next question. Have you sought to obtain or assist? Oh no, I haven't done this fraudulent activity. Have you ever been removed or deported from any country? So most of the questions on this side are definitely no. Have you ever withheld custody of a US citizen? No. Have you ever voted in the US? No. Alright, so as I said earlier on, you just choose no and go your way. And this is quite tricky because they have some guidelines for you, and they say that starting November 1, 2016, eyeglasses will no longer be allowed in new visa photos. So you have to make sure that you don't wear any eyeglasses. Now let's just upload our picture, and they have some guidelines with regards to the pictures that you have to upload. So you can just go into any Photoshop and ask them to take you 600 by 600 US size. You don't even need to tell them, just tell them you want a US size photograph and they will get the soft copy for you. Then you upload it onto your application. Oh good, so mine has passed the checks and we can go on to use this picture. So my picture has been uploaded successfully and I have been given the chance to go through my details. So if I see any information that is wrong, if there are any spelling mistakes, I can do the necessary corrections in here before I move on to the next stage. Now I don't want to do anything about this, so let's just move forward with the application. All right, so let's keep on going forward. I don't have to do anything now. So they will give you the chance to go through your applications to see if there are any errors. So they will be taking you from page to page. And now this is the family information page, and I don't have anything to edit here. I'll just keep on going to the next stage. So the next stage is the work education training information. I don't have anything to edit here, but if you go through and you think that your school address is not correct or you find any details you want to add, just feel free and add it, because you have to make sure every information you provide in here and the one in your passport and the one on your invitation letter all are the same, because if you make any errors or if you mismatch informations, your application can be rejected. Now it has brought me to the last stage, which says sign and submit. Before you do this, once again, let me say you have to go through to make sure that your application is intact. Now let me just sign and submit. All right, so I have to come down here. I just have to click on certifications here if that pertains to me. So I certify I have received a US government fact sheet on female genital mutilation. So you just have to accept this one before you can be able to proceed. And they'll input today's date here for you, and they'll ask you some few questions. Did anyone assist you in filling your application? You just click on no, and that is it. If you click on yes, a form will pop up and you put the person's details in there, but here I did it on my own, so I'll just say no. And I certify under penalty of perjury. So you just have to make sure that you confirm all these details, and they will ask you of your passport number. So you just have to put your passport number in there, and they'll ask you to enter this code. So let's just put the code in the MVR JSX, and let's sign and submit electronically and see if everything will go on smoothly for us. Alright, it says that you have successfully signed and submitted your application. Please, you cannot make any changes to your application at this point. Please click next to confirm the application process. So I'll just click on next. And here will be the form. So the form is going to look like this, and you have to make sure that you print this confirmation page, because you will need, especially you need this code during the day of your visa interview. So you have to make sure you print the confirmation page, and you print all the documents in here, and you can also email the confirmation to your email address so that you can get a copy in case you lose this page. Alright, so if you look below here, it says you must bring the confirmation page and the following documents with you at all the steps during the application process. So they ask you to bring your passport. So they entreat you to bring any additional documents that you feel you need to support your case. So you have to make sure you have printed out this page. There are no errors once again. and you have done the right thing. And that's it, folks. You've got all the tools you need to fill out your DS-160 form like a pro. Yeah. Remember that anyone applying for a non-immigrant visa in the US is eligible to fill out the DS-160 form. You just have to watch out for common mistakes like typos or incomplete information. Avoiding these will help you to have a very good outcome. Do not forget your security codes when starting this application. As you saw, we had to log in and logged out a lot of times, and without remembering these security codes, you will not be able to finish your application. And also subscribe to our channel for more tips, tricks on your visa journey. Hit the notification bell and never miss an update. If you have any questions or experiences or any comments you want to share with us, leave them below. Thank you for watching and good luck with your visa application. In the coming weeks, we'll be dropping some of the documents, tips, or how to compose yourself when you go for your US visa application. All right, see you in the next video. Bye.